Achtung, Herren! Vorwärts, Marsch!
Dad?
Why?
I had to. I had to yank one of our own ruddy officers.
Remove the body.
Captain Young, welcome home.
Thanks, Mac. Hi, Wendy.
Hello.
To be in England now that spring is here.
You were lucky to get that North African assignment, sir. I'll bet that was the life. Basking in the sun on the shores of the Mediterranean.
With a Cleopatra on each arm, I'll bet.
You're kidding. I spent all my time in those fly-infested furnaces they call courtrooms. Mac, would you please...
Yeah.
Wendy, would you please get me a glass of water?
Yes.
You have a headache, sir?
Worse. Medical souvenir of North Africa. Thank you. Cheers. The Major in?
Waiting for you.
Well, onward and upward. I do believe it's Francis Whitaker.
David, how are you? Glad to see you back.
Good to see you.
That was a terrific job you did in Algiers.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you approve.
Staff is very pleased with you.
Here, I've got the last of the reports for you.
All right, thank you. You look a little tired, huh?
Well, I wouldn't say tired, Frank. Just beat, bushed. All set for that leave you promised me.
Yeah, well, the trouble is, David, that we need you here right now.
You're not saying no leave, are you?
Now, look, I know that you're feeling rough, but this just can't wait. An American sergeant, an Edward Sullivan, has been charged with the murder of a British officer, Captain Richard Windfield.
I'm sorry about that, Frank, but that's not my problem right now.
David, Windfield was a big British hero, led that famous commando raid on Norway, decorated by the king and so forth. Now, the man accused of his murder is an American sergeant. You get the picture.
I get the picture, Frank. I just don't want the case.
Well, I'm afraid you don't have any choice, because Sergeant Sullivan has already made an official request under Article 17 that you be assigned as his defense counsel.
But, look, I don't even know the guy.
Well, he knows about you. You must be getting famous among the guardhouses of the European theater. Anyway, the law says that he's entitled to whomever he wants, and he wants you.
But what good do I do him if I fold up in the middle of the case? Now, come on, Frank, you can give me a few days.
Well, David, I'm sorry. This is top priority. We've got to act fast. Now, Sullivan admits that he did kill Windfield, and there are statements from witnesses saying there was bad blood between them.
Oh, my. Well, this Sullivan sounds like a pretty good soldier.
Yeah?
82nd Airborne Division, Sicily and Italy. Oh, it's a Silver Star.
Mm-hmm.
Purple Heart at Salerno. Captured, Altavilla, escaped. Where did this Windfield thing happen?
Epping. Yeah, right here. Windfield was undergoing a special course against Nazi interrogation techniques. Sullivan was on the camp staff. Now, the camp is a part of Schaef's Special Projects Division under a Colonel Martin. He's British.
Did they play it tough?
They play it very tough. The camp commandant is nicknamed the Iron Major. He's a former Polish Army officer, now with the United States Army. His name is Miesko. I've met him, and he's darn tough. So are all his staff. They were all selected because they have been in German prison camps at one time or another, like Sullivan.
In other words, experts on Nazi techniques.
Right.
Well, if it's as realistic as all that, couldn't Sullivan have cracked under the pressure?
No. No, if you're thinking of temporary insanity, forget it.
Why?
Well, for two reasons. One is that Sullivan has already been examined by a medical board and been given a clean bill of mental health. You'll find the psychiatric report in the file.
And, yeah, the other reason?
The other reason is that Windfield was the trainee, remember? He's the one who was liable to crack, not Sullivan.
Tell me, how does a man become a student at Epping?
Volunteers?
Like I did for this assignment?
David, I promise as soon as this assignment is over.
All right. Good luck. I don't get why you chose me to defend you.
I heard you're a good lawyer.
Where?
Old barracks talk, you know how it is. I had a couple of fellas say if you're ever in trouble, you get this Captain Young.
Well, I'm flattered. But your idea wasn't to get yourself a fast-talking lawyer so you could get away with it, was it?
I had to kill him.
You claim self-defense.
I was only trying to keep him from killing me.
All right. Now, look, Sullivan, you're a paratrooper. If a man attacks you, you know how to defend yourself. So why did you have to kill Windfield?
To save my life, I tell you, he was a trained killer.
But Epping is an Allied training camp. Why would Windfield want to kill an Allied?
I think he'd crack, sir. Maybe turn psycho. I don't know, sir. I'm no psychiatrist.
Well, you'll be pleased to know that the psychiatrists think that you're sane. The trouble is now to prove that Windfield wasn't.
He wasn't fooling with me, sir. He meant to kill me.
There are witnesses who say you were always picking on him because he was British.
Well, that may be true, sir. I'm not crazy about any of the British. But I don't go around killing them.
Why? What do you got against him?
Well, I don't like them, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. That's the way it is. I don't like them. You, have a cigarette, sir?
Yeah. Help yourself. Pill time. Tell me, did you ever threaten to kill Windfield?
Never. I did warn him that I'd get real rough if he tried to jump me again.
Oh, he attacked you before?
Twice. First time he tried to get my rifle. They didn't. They didn't like that. Guess it hurt his pride as a commando.
Now, let me understand this. Are you trying to tell me that he imagined he was actually a prisoner in German hands and not in a training camp?
Yes, sir. The training was too tough for him.
What do you mean? It wasn't the real thing.
So it was worse. I've been in the real thing. The Germans never treated me the way Major Miesko does the men in the camp. That's the idea of the mission, to see how much they can take.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that Major Miesko's superiors would allow him to run a camp the way you say he does.
Like the man says, you had to be there.
Yeah. Maybe I better take a trip out to Epping.
I wouldn't advise it, Captain.
Why not?
The Major told us outsiders don't understand these Nazi techniques. So he always puts on a special performance for visitors.
Well, I wasn't thinking of just visiting, Sergeant.
Captain Young,
Yes?
they told me you're going to defend Eddie. Oh, I'm Peggy Barrett, his fiancée. At least I...
Come here, will you? Just sit down. Your fiancé just told me he didn't like the British.
I don't suppose he does anymore. Though I don't think I can blame him.
Why's that?
Well, we were engaged, you see, but my father... Well, Dad refused his consent for my marrying Eddie.
You, say that your father made you break off the engagement?
Well, when Eddie was in London last on leave, Dad even refused to let me see him.
And how did Eddie take that?
Oh, he was furious. I heard him shouting at Dad. So an American soldier isn't good enough to marry your daughter?
Oh, no. Miss Barrett, do you realize what the trial counsel will make out of what you just told me?
I don't understand.
You've given the prosecution a first-class motive.
But Eddie's no murderer. I know him. He couldn't do a thing like that. Captain, you've got to find out what really happened at that camp.
I will. I promise you. Colonel Martin, just exactly what is the purpose of Camp Epping?
Have you ever studied medicine, Captain Young?
I had a tough enough time getting through law school, sir.
Well, Camp Epping is a form of preventative medicine. In order to immunize, we inoculate. Those men who can survive a special course there can probably take the real thing, a dose of Nazi methods. Those who can't must be eliminated.
But what's it all for?
3 weeks before D-Day, hand-picked men from the Allied armies will be dropped in German-occupied Europe. Now, each man will make contact with a specific resistance group and give that group its battle orders for D-Day. Now, this information can't be sent by radio. It's too sensitive. So these couriers will have to keep the information in their heads. Dates, times, places. If any of them get captured and break under Nazi interrogation, you can understand that this might jeopardize the entire invasion.
So over at Epping, they find out if a man can take it.
That's right. I run the project from here in London, but the man on the spot is a Major Miesko. Thorough professional, totally dedicated. You know, after the Nazis overran Poland in 1939, he almost became a legend in the underground resistance.
They call him the Iron Major, right?
Yeah. I suppose that's because he does such a good job.
Colonel, is there a possibility that he does too good a job?
What exactly is that supposed to mean?
Well, sir, Sullivan claims that he had to kill Windfield in self-defense, that Windfield had cracked. That he'd come to actually believe that he was in a Nazi camp and that Sullivan was an SS guard.
Well, that's Sergeant Sullivan's story, isn't it? You better get your facts straight, Captain Young. There's no evidence at all to suggest that Captain Windfield had cracked.
Has anybody at Epping ever cracked?
Several have failed to make the grade, yes. But not Captain Windfield. You know, I think you've got a wrong picture of Camp Epping. People are not driven out of their minds up there. I know exactly how far the pressure goes and where it stops. I visit Camp Epping myself periodically.
Well, Colonel, that's another thing. You see, Sullivan also says that Major Miesko tones it down for all the visitors, that, you know, he puts on a special performance for them.
That's a bit insulting to me and my staff, isn't it?
I'm sorry, sir. It wasn't intended to be. But you understand that I have to check my client's story.
I see.
What I'm getting at, sir, is that I'd like to make a formal request for me to attend Camp Epping as a prisoner of war.
For what purpose?
I want to see for myself what really goes on there when you aren't around.
Now, look here, Captain Young. I've already told you exactly...
Sir, I'm only trying to find out the truth. Whether Major Miesko puts on window dressing for you or whether Sergeant Sullivan has lied to me. Isn't that what you're interested in, too?
All right. You'll get your orders assigning you to Camp Epping.
Thank you, sir.
Don't thank me. You might be more sorry than grateful.
Now, what's this all about? I told you we had to move on the Sullivan case.
I'm moving out to Epping as a special combat trainee.
Why?
Well, here, I'll turn over everything I've got so far, but this trip could mean the whole difference for Sullivan.
Or against him.
Oh, I thought of that, too.
Well, how long is all of this going to take?
Just long enough to get what I need.
Well, it better be fast, because I've already had 5 phone calls today asking when.
Well, you tell them for me that I said the why comes first, huh?
You're the guy who wanted to leave. That's no rest center out there, you know.
Well, they say that sometimes the best vacations are a change of scenery.
Yeah, well, if Miesko finds out what you're up to, you may have a change of pace.
And now, for all we know, the Major's iron exterior could conceal a creamy marshmallow heart.
Yeah, well, I hope so, for your sake.
I hope not. For Sullivan's.
Well, you're kind of between the devil and the deep blue sea, aren't you?
Yeah. Have you got any other happy thoughts for the day?
Yes, one. You know, Americans are not likely to be very popular out at that camp right now on either side of the fence, so tread softly, huh?
Frank, you'd have made a lousy morale officer.
You sure we're still in England, Captain?
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
I'd hate to be in your shoes. This looks like your welcoming committee.
Oh, one last thing, Mac. See what you can dig up on the Iron Major and Captain Windfield. Anything, everything you can find in the background that might help, okay?
Right.
Your papers?
Hey, you're talking to an officer.
Cover these men! For the last time, your papers. Get going. This is as far as you're allowed. Roberts, prisoners have no personal property. Full escort for the prisoner.
Take care of yourself, Mac.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same for you.
Talking is forbidden. Hands behind your head. Squad, by the left. Quick, march!
Come.
Major, we've taken a new prisoner, an American officer.
Forgive me, Captain. I had cleaned my gun. Just testing. That's what I thought, Major.
Salute the Commandant.
No. Captain David Young reporting as ordered, sir. Stand easy.
Sir, prisoner's papers.
Interesting. So you're an intelligence captain, huh?
Name David Young, rank captain, serial number 04398896.
I think it would be helpful if you told us a little bit about your work.
Name David Young, rank captain, serial number 04398896.
You're well trained, Captain, but I ought to warn you that here the Geneva Convention does not count for a match. I hope that's clear. Are there any questions?
Yes, just one. I understand that the Geneva Convention says it's the duty of every prisoner of war to try to escape if it's possible. Now, do you recognize that here?
No one ever escapes from this camp.
Dubosky, please. Of course, we recognize such obligations on the prisoner's part, but if you're caught trying to escape, you will be shot.
Well, I know you're not serious, Major.
Oh, really? Only recently a British officer was killed while trying to escape from here.
But that was an accident.
Was it? Uncertainty is one of the most effective ways for breaking a man down. Dubosky.
Captain Young!
There's a bullet in it this time.
What was that for? This isn't supposed to be for real, you know.
You're under some illusion, Captain, but we soon correct that. Take the prisoner to his quarters, will you?
Yes, sir.
Dubosky. Make the prisoner as uncomfortable as possible.
Claridge's, those are your quarters. No central heating, I'm afraid.
Welcome to Claridge's, mon capitaine. The homme extraordinaire from the homme ordinaire.
Thank you. My name's Young, David Young.
Lieutenant Pierre Gascon, Free French Force. Je vous présente mes respects. Would you like to enter?
Enchanté.
Lieutenant Tony Randolph, Captain David Young, the new victim.
Right.
Not that bunk. If you don't mind, Captain. It belonged to an English officer one of your American sergeants murdered. You may have heard of him, Captain Windfield.
I heard.
This one might suit you better. It belonged to an American who cracked under the pressure.
Ah, oui. Lieutenant Ford it was. A ranger officer. I think maybe he had already seen too much of the war.
At least Windfield didn't take the easy way out.
They were very good friends, Captain. Ah, it is, how you say, the chow time?
I'm not very hungry.
But it is the one big meal of the day. In fact, the only one. I advise you to eat. Believe me, you will need it.
Cabbage soup and sausage hash. It won't kill you.
Morelli, no fraternizing with the enemy prisoners.
Mind if I join you?
The service, she is terrible. But, oh, the food, she stinks. What, you have no appetite, Captain?
Help yourself.
Oh, merci.
What do they put in that stuff, anyway?
Oh, who cares, as long as he does not bite back.
Say, Lieutenant, what makes you think that one of our guys murdered Captain Windfield?
He had some peculiar fixation against anything English, particularly Dick Windfield. He was just waiting for a chance to kill him. Finally got it.
You seem to have a lot of time on your hands, Captain Young. Asking questions.
Got nothing else to do?
How true. But now, Captain, we are going to bury you.
Good morning, Captain. Did you sleep well? Dubusky, he says he slept well. Dubusky?
Yes, sir.
Let's get him out.
Guards?
Excuse the pushing, Captain. Major Miesko's watching. Sure. Say, did you know Sergeant Sullivan?
We were buddies.
You think that he murdered Windfield?
Why? Why are you so bugged about Sullivan?
Look, I'm here to help him.
Yeah?
Listen, Captain, Eddie wouldn't murder nobody.
Randolph says he had it in for Windfield.
Well, he had a hate on against all limeys. But you can't blame him, not after the way they treated him.
So he did have a chip on his shoulder, huh?
Eddie ain't the type of guy to stick a bayonet into a fella unless it was a matter of life and death for him.
What about Windfield? What kind of shape was he in?
Look, maybe I shouldn't say this about a guy who was a one-man army. But from where I was standing, Windfield looked like he was getting ready to blow his stack.
Why didn't you report it?
I did. I told that Polish Lieutenant Dubosky that Windfield was going out of his mind.
What did Dubosky do?
He almost took my head off. He told me the Major knew it.
Bonjour. Almost time for the chow.
Chow. It's a good name for it. It's like dog food. Listen, Captain. What I said to you about Eddie, do you think that'll help?
It might. Hey, Pierre. You bunked with Windfield. What would you say that his mental condition was during those last days?
Well, he was not in here very much, Captain. Except maybe to sleep when they let him. Now, Lieutenant Randolph, he served with Captain Windfield before... Yeah, he spent a lot of time with him in here. He could tell you much more.
Yeah, the problem is Willie. Well, I suppose there's only one way to find out.
Ah, Captain, you are perhaps not going to eat again today?
Listen, I'm so hungry I'll eat that slop even if it does bite back. Hi. You mind if I tag along?
Yes?
I've got to talk to you.
I don't have to talk to you, Captain.
Now, look, Randolph, I'll level with you. I'm here to get evidence for Sergeant Sullivan.
You mean excuses?
No, not excuses, facts.
There are no facts that would change anything.
Randolph, did Captain Windfield come to believe that this was the real thing?
Of course not.
Well, why not? He was only human. He'd been through a lot during this war, and under these conditions, couldn't he have been pushed too far? Huh?
No.
Couldn't he have come to believe that he was really in the hands of the enemy?
No!
Listen. Like the fine soldier he was, couldn't he have tried to escape, kill anybody who tried to stop him?
No. This is only a training camp. No one would really believe this was the real thing.
Squad! Ow!
Hey.
I'm a commando, trained to defend myself.
So was Windfield.
You two are wanted at headquarters for interrogation. On the double.
Are they going to leave us alone?
Good! By the left! Quick! March! Left row!
Sorry to keep you waiting, Captain. I had another customer I had to take care of first. It has come to our attention that you've been making certain inquiries about the late Captain Windfield. Why?
Captain David Young, 0439896.
You understand, Captain Young? You can relax now. This has nothing to do with your training. I merely thought I could help you.
How?
I wanted to explain to you what sort of man Major Miesko is.
What about him?
For 2 years, he was the leader of the Polish underground. His exploits were fantastic. Then he was captured. But he didn't talk, Captain. He didn't betray his comrades. He resisted. He survived. Captain Young, I wouldn't want anyone to make trouble for Major Miesko. Do anything to harm his record and his reputation.
Well, I'm sure that no one would want to do that without good reason.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is my last one. Would you like it?
Thank you.
Captain Young, I want to know what your interest is in the death of Captain Windfield. You have nothing to say?
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't offer me a cigar.
Captain Young, all that we are asking for is your cooperation.
I thought cooperation with the enemy was treason.
Answering my questions now will save us time. And you a great deal of discomfort. Any man can be made to talk.
Dabowski says you didn't.
Lieutenant, it appears we must submit Captain Young to some of the intensified training which his orders call for. Non-stop, round the clock. Tie him up.
said it, Major.
It's been 38 hours straight, Major.
What? What?
Suck. Funny. Geneva Convention.
You still think the Gestapo cares about rights and conventions?
You're not supposed to be the Gestapo.
But we are supposed to be the Gestapo. That's the whole idea of this training.
Major, he needs some food and sleep.
All right. Let him sleep. But no food. You'll have to talk for that.
Yes, sir.
God dismissed!
Really? Can help Sullivan now. How do I get out of there? You know a funny thing, Captain? Tonight I just happened to be walking guard at the main gate. And you know something else? I ain't eaten a carrot in months, and I may just get an awful case of night blindness. Thanks. Let's see you, don't get in trouble. Trouble? Sullivan's the one for the big trouble. What can those guys do to me, sue me? Captain, there's some chocolate. Eat it real slow, huh?
Captain, I must go with you for at least one glorious, immense meal.
All right. And I'm coming too. I've had enough of this hellhole. And I want to see Miesko's perfect record blasted sky high when the three of us break out of here.
Okay, fine. You just call me when it's dark.
Captain, no one escapes from my camp.
Chien, that kosher Morelli, he betrayed us.
Okay, now what? What I said. You'll be shot.
One round. Load. Aim. Fire.
God,
You still refuse to talk? Very well. Lieutenant! Carry on. Both at the same time.
Guard!
I only have one blindfold. Which one of you?
I'll take it.
If anyone moves, I'll kill Dubosky. Hold it!
Oh, non de non.
There's your traitor, Randolph. Just another one of Major Miesko's training exercises.
I saw with my own eyes the blood.
A capsule in the mouth, Lieutenant, such as they use in the cinema.
Yeah, and blanks in the rifles. But you believed it, didn't you? You were ready to kill. Because you were convinced, like Windfield, that they were really the enemy, weren't you?
Very realistic, wouldn't you say?
No. I'd say sadistic. Just like a real Nazi.
Before I'm through with you, Captain, you will have learned prudence. And perhaps respect for a superior officer. Lieutenant! Take him to my quarters.
Hello, Major. Major Whittaker. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you.
And to what do I owe the unexpected pleasure of seeing you?
Well, I have orders here for the release of one of your prisoners, Captain David Young. He's a member of my staff, assigned to defend Sergeant Sullivan. And he felt that this way he'd get a better picture of conditions here.
I see. So that was his special mission, was it?
Yes.
David, what happened to you? Frank, what are you doing here?
I'm here to get you out. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine now. Listen, I can prove that Sullivan isn't guilty of murdering Windfield. But maybe Major Miesko is.
Major, I think the strain of the training has proved too much for your captain.
Oh, you do? Well, I've been hoping to get you alone to talk to you about that.
David, take it easy. Come on, Frank! This guy's got everything here but the ovens.
Major Miesko is not on trial, David.
Not yet.
What I do here is my duty. It is necessary.
Well, buddy, you're just going to have to prove that at Sergeant Sullivan's court-martial.
Yes, it is necessary. If any man could not stand up to it, he was not fit for his assignment behind the enemy lines. It was the mission of this camp to provide such training.
And how would you describe the training you gave, Major?
Realistic?
Realistic. Realistic enough to make a man subjected to it believe that you were the enemy?
Any man would be out of his mind to believe that.
Yes, or be driven out of his mind. Major, in your experience, were the techniques that you used similar to those used by the Gestapo?
Yes, that was the whole point.
Would you go so far as to say they were identical?
Of course not.
But Corporal Morelli and Sergeant Hawkins had testified that the procedures you used at the camp were the same that the Nazis used on them when they were prisoners of war.
I think it is safe to say that I was put in charge of this camp because of my qualifications as an officer with extensive experience and responsibility. Otherwise, I too might have been assigned there as only a corporal or a sergeant.
Well, in any event, you agree that the conditions were extremely realistic, huh? Now, you have also heard the testimony of Lieutenant Randolph, who knew Captain Windfield well, both as a soldier and as a friend. Lieutenant Randolph has told us that Windfield was in a state of nervous exhaustion. that he had been driven by you to a point where he believed he was, in fact, a prisoner of the Gestapo, tried, in fact, to escape and kill Sergeant Sullivan. Now, do you agree with that?
No.
Just a simple yes or no, Major.
Well, no. No, of course not. It's absolute nonsense.
Nonsense. But isn't it your contention that any man can be broken? I mean, didn't you have occasion to tell me this yourself?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did. The Nazis have made a science of it, given time. I suppose they could have broken anyone.
Anyone, that is, but you. Right? Major, I happen to have your record here. Now, it shows that you were captured by the Nazis on December the 12th, 1941, and you were held prisoner at the Auschwitz extermination camp for 2.5 months. But despite all that time, and all their science in being able to break men down, you held out. Is that right?
That's right.
Well, it's strange, because I note here that on February the 9th, that is 3 weeks before you escaped, the other leaders of the Polish underground were rounded up and shot. Was that just a coincidence, Major Miesko? Or was it because you broke? You betrayed your friends!
Yes. Yes! But you don't know what it was like. None of you can know what it was like unless you've been through it yourself. I was tortured for 5 weeks, but I wouldn't talk. Then one morning, they took me out. They had my wife, my children, lined up against the wall. They said if I didn't talk, they'd shoot them. Thought they were bluffing. But they weren't. They killed them. Machine gunned them. Before my eyes. My babies. I guess then I must have gone mad. Yes, I talked. But I've tried to make up for it. I've tried to save lives. Don't you see that's why I drove the men so hard? In order to stand up to the Nazis and win, you've got to beat them at their own game. You've got to be as hard and as ruthless as they are, even more. Otherwise, they break you. I broke.
Defense has no further questions.
The witness is excused.
Defense, anything further to offer? If the court please, only this. That if there is any guilt in the death of Captain Windfield, I ask you to assign it where it rightfully belongs. Not to Sergeant Sullivan, but to the Nazis themselves. Their brutality has led too many of us to believe that in order to defend ourselves against them, we have to behave like them. And this, of course, is a violation of everything that we're fighting for. Now, it seems to me that we should have learned by now that evil can never be used to fight evil, and we have no better example than the case at hand. Major Miesko used Nazi methods, and an innocent, deluded man died because of it. So when Sergeant Sullivan was forced to use his bayonet that night at Epping, it was clearly not an act of murder, but one of self-defense. The defense rests.
Sergeant Edward Sullivan, it is my duty as president of this court to advise you that the court, in closed session and upon secret written ballot, has found you not guilty of the specification and charge. Court will adjourn to meet at my call.
Eddie.
Colonel, I hope you agree that justice was done.
Of course I do. I'm relieving Major Miesko of his command at once. Will you be bringing charges against him?
Oh, I think that's for the psychiatrist to decide, don't you?
Goodbye.
Goodbye, sir.
David, congratulations. I just heard.
There's the man I want to see. What about my leave?
Oh, Captain Young, I found your pills. I had to look everywhere.
Pills? Well, I don't think I need them anymore.
You mean you really feel better?
Yeah, the vacation at Epping cured me.
Now, that's the hard way to do it. Anyway, I've got news for you. They just cut me orders for Casablanca. I'm leaving tonight, so I'm afraid you'll have to look after the shop here in London for a few days, all right?
Well, it's not a leave, Frank, but it's not a hardship assignment either.
Good, fine.
Hey, Frank.
Huh?
You better take these with you to Casablanca. An ounce of prevention, you know.